for Hayes. Today we're going to discuss assessment and analysis of learning styles and teaching strategies. So what we're going to discuss today is different learning theories, different assessment tools, one of which we're going to go in depth about, the Kolb's Learning Style Inventory, a group of learners that I assessed using these types of assessment tools, which consisted of a group of CRNA students, and the results of this tool, and what teaching strategies we would use to effectively teach these students. So why do we assess different learning styles? Mainly, with our society today being as diverse as it is, our average classroom consists of students that are of different age groups, that have different races, different educational backgrounds, and also have disabilities. So we need to accommodate these students by modifying our teaching strategies. Learning theories. Learning theories are characterized into two different groups. You have your behavioristic theories and your cognitive theories. Your behavioristic theories, a good definition of that is, all behavior is learned and can be shaped and rewarded to attain desired ends. Then your cognitive is your perceptual principles and insight. Your cognitive is also known as Gestalt, which is German for patterns and configurations. So two behavioristic theorists are that of Ivan Pavlov and Edward Thorndike. We all know Ivan Pavlov as his example of his food, dog, and bell experiment. These theorists base their learning processes on that of human beings and animals. The results showed an affiliation between behavior and physical reflexes. A cognitive theorist is that of David Ajubel. He came up with the assimilation theory. This assimilation theory was based on the previous knowledge aids from the development into complex knowledge. So in other words, we learn things better from our previous knowledge. Kolb's Learning Style Inventory is an assessment tool that assesses different learning styles. It became known after all of these different learning theories that there are different learning styles. So all of these assessment tools were developed to see what different types of styles students learn best. So this is one of those assessment tools. Kolb's Learning Style Inventory was derived from two theories, the growth and development theory and the experiential learning theory. The main emphasis was on the experiential learning theory, and that there was a relationship in educational activity involvement and the learning process. Kolb's Learning Style Inventory assesses different ways in which students interpret new information. There are 12 questions on this assessment tool, and it's scored by the participant. At the end of the assessment tool, the participant is put into one of these learning style categories. There are 4 of them. The first one is the diverger. The diverger is the student that is creative, has a great imagination. These are your brainstormers. So mainly these are your counselors and your personal managers. Then you have your convergers. Your convergers prefer active experimentation and abstract conceptualization. These are your more practical thinkers, your engineers. And then we have assimilators, who favor abstract conceptualization and reflective observation. These are your theorists. And finally, we have accommodators. These are your problem solvers. They learn best by trial and error. They are also very adaptable. They adapt in new situations, and they're very quick thinkers. These are always your nurses. So the group of learners that I assessed consisted of 8 CRNA students. There were 6 females and 2 males in this group, and it consisted of young adults. It took them about 2 to 5 minutes per student to finish this assessment tool. So these are the results that came out of the assessment tool. We had 62% of the group that consisted of accommodators, 13% were convergers, and 25% were that of accommodators and convergers. So how do we compare these two different groups? Well, they both prefer active experimentation. They are independent and more practical thinkers, and they are your hands-on learners. So how do they differ? The convergers, they like to have an understanding of a process before they perform a task, where your accommodators, they'll perform a task and they'll ask questions later. So these are the teaching strategies that I felt were important that would be used in this group of learners. First, lecture. I feel that lecture is very important for your initial presentation. Lecture just gives students that foundation so that they can move on to do other tasks. The case studies and problem-based learning, I feel, are about the same based on the lecture. It gives them that foundational knowledge. So after they have that foundation, it's important for these types of learners to get in there and get their hands on so that they can learn even better. So this is where the demonstration, return demonstration, role play, and simulations come into effect. But these last three, these more active involvement strategies, these can be done either in the classroom or by computer. So lecture is what I'm going to use for my demonstration today, my demonstration strategy. And again, I feel like this is very important because it provides that factual information which builds an educational foundation. And during this time, misconceptions can also be clarified. And with these lectures, it is also important for visual aids to be provided, such as the PowerPoint, handouts and diagrams. Handouts, for example, giving the students a copy of your PowerPoint before the presentation so that they can take notes, and also factual information that they can take home with them for reference when they're independently studying. And then also discussion time at the end of the lecture so that students can express their concerns and ask questions. So today I'm going to teach you guys about hand washing. So why should we wash our hands? Well, to avoid infections such as common colds, flu, GI disorders, and also avoid infecting others, which is very important when we're working in healthcare, because washing your hands is the #1 prevention for nosocomial infections. So when should we wash our hands? There are tons of times when we should wash our hands, but I'm not going to, of course, tell you guys every one of these, but we'll just hit the high ones. After using the toilet, which is very important, after touching animals, before and after handling food. A lot of people, this is where they've become infected with E. coli and salmonella just simply by not washing their hands. After blowing your nose or sneezing, this can keep you from reinfecting yourself and infecting others. And also after handling garbage or removing contact lenses. Here's a little fun fact. 1 in 3 people do not wash their hands after using the restroom. So now we're going to discuss proper hand washing. A lot of people they'll just put their hands in a running water or maybe do it for a couple of seconds, and this is just not effective. They need to know how to properly wash their hands. So proper hand washing, all we need is soap and water. It's as simple as that. A lot of people are harping on these antibacterial soaps, but they do the same thing, regular soap and antibacterial soap. Or if soap and water is not available, you always have these new and improved hand sanitizers. Hand sanitizers are actually better in killing viruses and bacteria. So here's the proper technique in using soap and water. We want to wet our hands with warm water, apply soap, and lather for 15 to 20 seconds. That is the key thing, is washing your hands for that amount of time. The easiest way to remember that is we can sing Happy Birthday or we can sing the ABC song. This is a way you can also teach your kids so that it'll make some fun for them. Rinse your hands, take a dry towel, dry off your hands, and use that towel to turn off that faucet so you don't get your hands dirty again. And also you can use that towel to open up the door. So the proper hand sanitizer use. The CDC recommends that our hand sanitizer products need to be at least 60% alcohol based. You need to apply at least half a teaspoon to your hands and rub them together until it's dry. So a simple habit to improve health is hand washing. And I have a study from the Mayo Clinic to give everybody just for factual information. And for the discussion at the end of the class, we need to discuss how can we promote hand washing in hospitals and other facilities. And then here are our references.